Hi, I'm Gary Hall Sr. from the Race Club. The first phase that we're going to discuss in the underwater journey, which takes us through a 2-foot diameter circle from the entry point to the exit point of the hand, is called the lift phase. The lift phase occurs from the time the hand enters the water at 12 o'clock and reaches the 3 o'clock position on the 2-foot diameter circle. This is the point at which there is no propulsion, but only lift forces that are occurring. Why is lift important to the swimmer? Lift is any force that gets the body higher in the water. And the higher the body is in the water, the more of it is in air than it is in water. And the drag forces in air are so much less than in water that it reduces the drag force to enable the swimmer to swim faster. There's actually two different mechanisms of lift that occur during phase one. The first is called Bernoulli's principle. And that means when the hand is outstretched in this direction, it acts like an airplane wing, with the water flowing faster above than it does below, creating a lift force that gets the body higher in the water. The second force that creates lift is the actual downward pressure of the hand or the forearm, as it's correctly done, to apply force downward to lift the body up. Now, there's different types of freestyle. One is called a hip-driven, where the hand is held in front much longer than in a shoulder-driven. Let me explain the difference. In a hip-driven stroke, typically you're going to see a stroke rate of about 60 strokes per minute. That means 30 arm strokes of the right, 30 of the left. That takes approximately 2 seconds for the arm to go through an entire cycle from entry point to entry point. During that 2 seconds in the hip-driven technique, the hand will be held out in front and pushed in front for approximately 1.25 seconds. Whereas in the shoulder-driven technique, where the stroke rate might be of 100 to 110 strokes per minute, or 50 to 60 of right arm and left arm, there is a total duration of about 1.1 second of the entire duration of the cycle, and only 0.35 seconds are held in the lift phase. That means the hand enters the water and gets into the propulsive phase as quickly as possible. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is with the hip-driven technique, when you're holding in front, it creates more lift. It also enables the hip to turn further so that when you do pull with a greater counter-rotation speed, you can generate more power with that pull. But because you're holding here in front with no propulsion longer, it requires that you have very strong kick to provide the propulsion during that phase. Whereas with a shoulder-driven technique, although the propulsions are less strong, you get more of them, and so therefore the hand acts more like a propeller. Now, which stroke is right for you depends greatly on how strong a kick you have. If you have a strong kick, you can swim fast with a hip-driven technique. If you don't, you better use the shoulder-driven technique and use your arms more like a propeller. The shoulder-driven freestyle is characterized by very little time held in front. The hand goes immediately into the propulsive phase with a total stroke time of approximately 1.2 seconds. Here you can see the hand enters at 0, the right hand, and immediately goes into the lift and propulsive phase, comes around and completes the cycle at 1.2 seconds, equating to a stroke rate between 90 and 100 strokes per minute. As the hand enters the water, it goes through 4 phases. The earliest phase is the lift phase from 12 to 3 o'clock, lasting about 0.34 seconds. This is followed by the front quadrant propulsive phase from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, which lasts another 0.2 to 0.25 seconds. Once the hand reaches the shoulder and continues on its journey backward in the propulsive phase in the back quadrant propulsion, lasting another 0.2 to 0.25 seconds. And then finally, the hand releases as it moves forward again, creating very little drag, another 0.2 seconds or so to complete the underwater pull cycle. The earliest part of the lift phase utilizes Bernoulli's principle. As the hand moves forward with velocity, the arm actually creates lift, lifting the swimmer higher in the water and reduces drag. Once the hand reaches approximately 130 on the clock, it begins to push down, and using Newton's third law of motion, creates a force down that results in a lift up, reducing the drag. In front, one can see the tremendous amount of lift that's generated at the front end of the pole, first from Bernoulli's principle as the hand moves forward, and then subsequently as the hand pushes down. With hip-driven technique, the hand is held in front longer, creating more lift so long as there is velocity, pushing the hand forward with a strong kick. There is more time spent in the front quadrant in the lift phase with the hip-driven technique than there is with the shoulder-driven technique. With this hip-driven technique, the full cycle time takes 1.7 seconds, considerably longer than the 1.2 seconds of the shoulder-driven technique. From the side view, one can see that the front hand pushing forward, creating a greater length of time in the lift position. As the right hand enters, the left hand is still in the propulsive phase, but it takes 0.6 seconds to finish the lift phase in this hip-driven technique, which equates to a stroke rate of approximately 70 strokes per minute, rather than 90 to 100. The remainder of the stroke cycle phases, underwater pole, take about the same time as they do with the shoulder-driven.